You can run, but you can't hide.
Hi guys, we are back with another video. Today I'm here with my bestie, Mr. Ahmal Allen. Today's video is about women's guide to men in male vulnerability. So Ahmal, introduce yourself.
My name is Ahmal Hassan Allen, and I am a marriage and family therapist as well as a babalawo.
And my best friend, more importantly.
And her best friend.
So today we are going to be talking about the male perspective on how males are treated in today's society. So I'm going to be basically interviewing him and kind of getting a deeper look into the male perspective when it comes to vulnerability, how it feels to be a man in today's society. So I'm going to be asking him some questions and kind of getting some deeper insight on the male opinion. Okay. So the first question is, tell us a little bit about your background, your degrees, your upbringing, and your spiritual beliefs.
I was born in Los Angeles, California. I pretty much grew up in Las Vegas. I have a bachelor's degree in anthropology, which is the study of culture and society, possibly more so social anthropology. And then I also have a master's in marriage and family therapy, and I'm a practicing therapist. As far as my spiritual beliefs, I practice Ifa, and I am an initiated babalawo.
Second question is, what is it like to express your feelings as a man in today's society?
For most men, and because most men, like most women, are unconscious, right? So it isn't a male or a female thing with people. Most people are unconscious or unaware of how they actually behave because they weren't necessarily raised by somebody who was conscious and aware, right? But as a man, if you are expressing your feelings in this world that is mostly unconscious, you tend to be shunned for expressing your emotions, right? Women are always catered to as far as their emotions. Not to say that women don't experience trauma with men or stress with men, but the world, as far as society, looks at women and says, you have emotions, you're emotional, it's okay. But when men are emotional, they tend to lean towards their anger because that's the emotion that they tend to be able to show comfortably. So if a man is sad or depressed, it tends to lean into anger more so into any other type of emotion that they experience.
So how can men feel more heard in today's society?
First and foremost, they got to be self-aware, right? And until you're self-aware, you're not going to know who's going to be willing to hear you out in the first place. And you're going to tend to put your feelings in places that they don't belong, which means that you're not going to have a safe space with somebody you care about to express how you feel. So it's important to be self-aware so that way you can identify who you can actually be emotionally open with, right? So you don't feel disrespected when you do express your emotions. But after the self-awareness, it means understanding as a man and as a woman that every person that you discuss your emotions with are not going to be safe spaces and safe people to express your emotions to. Right? You know that you have to know the right people. Know people who care about you and who are going to treat you with respect. And that's the place where you can really talk about your emotions. And for a lot of men, that's their sisters. Whenever they are close with their sisters and their sisters are self-aware, that's a comfortable place to be able to express your emotions and not feel judged for it.
So this is a separate question. So how does somebody who's never done it before, well, in this case, a man, become self-aware when they don't have support?
If you don't have any support in terms of self-awareness, the most important thing you can do, you can split it in two different ways. One, you start to read, right? Start to become more knowledgeable about yourself by trying to understand the people around you. Read some books, some self-help books, some books on therapy, some books on psychology, some books on coping skills. Because a lot of times, realizing that you have negative coping skills opens you up to better understanding yourself and how you react to people, right? But if that's one way. And then there's also discussing it with somebody that you actually trust and respect, that you believe has some level of self-awareness.
Right.
If you have a self-aware friend who is very objective, who's understanding, they're tend to going to be the person who's going to listen to you and give you honest feedback, not to judge you, not to make you feel disrespected, but honest feedback to support you because they want you to be happy.
Well, I know you and I have had a couple conversations about the current emotional state of the majority of men in today's society. That's what kind of has led me to want to make the video and learn more about it. And what I've been seeing is the more men I ask, literally every man that I've asked has had the same answer. So I kind of want to talk about the current state of emotion of the average man, if you can kind of shed some light onto that.
Well, the average man, like I said, like the average woman, is mostly unaware, right? So they're not really unaware of their emotions and unaware of their life and where it is that they're heading personally. And so things can be really hard for them. On top of the fact that life is really hard on males in a different way than it's hard on women, right? A lot of times it's hard on women in terms of images, in terms of what they expect a woman to be like in her physical, right?
Right.
She got to be pretty like this. She got to have a butt like this. Stupid, shallow stuff. But with men, it can be worse because the burden on men is you better work, you better get money,
right?
You better become successful. No woman's gonna like you if you don't have any success or you don't have anything. And the majority of men don't feel seen by women. The majority of men aren't seen by women. 1 out of 3 men over 30 is a virgin or haven't had sex in over a year, right? And that's the true statistic of what you deal with when you look at what men are going through. So the majority of men are not comfortable even talking to women. On top of the fact that a lot of times if they go up to that pretty girl, they might end up being disrespected because of their approach, right? Maybe they have a bad approach and that warrants that disrespect. Or maybe they're just asking questions and because they ain't cute enough, they get disrespected.
Right, yeah.
So a lot of men don't feel seen by women, and which results in a lot of different things that men tend to do that are violent and depressive. Like when you look at these shootings and stuff like that, it's not to say that shootings have anything to do with men not having a comfortable space with women, but for a man to do something like that, he has to feel invisible or he has to be psychotic, right? One or the other. And feeling invisible, like feeling like no woman will love you or no woman will respect you, especially beyond what you can offer, is a hard point. Chris Rock said it in one of his comedy specials where he was like, hey, men are only loved for what they can provide, right? Only women and children and dogs are loved across the board unconditionally.
Not the dogs, not the dogs.
And men are loved for what they can provide. Right. So a man who can't provide anything for anybody is likely not to receive any love from anybody. And we all tend to be more on the I can't provide for people's side because getting your finances together usually takes you having a good example in your life. And most of us don't have a good example of finances or how to take care of those things. So a lot of men in this world tend to be very angry and very depressed.
And I just want to say, I want this video to be more of women being able to step back and listen to the male perspective. I know that sometimes women, when dealing with men, feel a sense of feeling slighted when a man talks about their plight because they don't feel acknowledged sometimes when a man speaks about their plight because women go through so much. I want to encourage the women that are watching and that follow my channel, just take a moment to reflect, listen, and take in what you can, digest it, and try not to take it personally. Try to see this from the lens of the man, and maybe it can help you become a better woman to the men in your life. So bear with us, queens. We know y'all might want to tussle.
Yeah, and on top of that, make sure that you understand as a woman, you often feel judged by men, right? When they talk about what they deserve from women or what they feel like they want from women, you may feel judged by them. And it's because a lot of us are unaware. So we just tend to judge each other and we have high expectations for what we should get and have low expectations for what we should be.
The Andrew Tates, the Kevin Samuels.
And the thing is that when you listen to what those dudes are saying, it's really not what they're saying. It's how they're saying it.
Yeah.
Because they tend to be very comfortable with disrespecting women
Right.
in terms of what they say. They don't be
Right.
wrong for how they judge shallow women who have super high expectations, who don't have a real expectation for themselves. Before you go out into the world and start measuring people with your measuring stick, make sure that you stand next to your measuring stick and you measure up, right?
Right.
And that goes for men and women across the board. Stop judging each other and really look at what you're doing and be the best person you can be. Because if you do that, you're going to tend to be able to be a better person for your mate, no matter who or what gender they are.
Right. And you know, we talking to a marriage and family therapist, y'all. So he knows what he's talking about. He got the credentials, okay? So with that being said, how can good men and good women align more? What is the plan of action to kind of bring the women who are like, oh, men have slighted me so much, this is what I'm dealing with men, and the men that are like, oh, this is what I'm dealing with women? How can they come aligned to kind of be on an even playing field with one another?
They really, I'll probably be answering the question with self-awareness a lot on all fronts, because it's so important, because you can't really have anything to judge if you have no real self-awareness of yourself and what you really want in your life. But after you do have some self-awareness and you have done some healing behind the things that people have done to you and said to you, or that's come from your family, then at that point, what you need to do is assess your choices and why you make them, from a male and a female front. Assess your choices and why you make them. A lot of times, people take on their high school perspective when it comes to dating. You really are dating people based off of their attractiveness, not compatibility, not understanding, not respect. It's, you're so attractive, I want to ignore all my boundaries and be with you no matter what it is that you're doing. There's no such thing as love without respect. And if someone doesn't respect you, they don't love you. I don't care what you say. And if you do think they love you, a love that doesn't come respect is not going to matter. In the long run, it's just going to hurt you. So reassess first and foremost why you choose the people that you choose. If you have enough exes to really look in your past and really get an idea of, because you need a sample, a big enough sample size to know why you're making the wrong choice. Once you look back, because a bunch of men will say, oh, the women do this and the women do that, and I can't stand these, and then the women will be like, oh, these guys do this and men do that, and I can't stand. Sweetheart, you know a fraction of 1% of the people who live around you, and that's in your ethnic group. Outside of your ethnic group, you know, there's white men, there's black men, there's men. You know, not even close to a fraction of them. So you have to realize it's not the people and the population; it's your choice. It's what you're choosing, right? And from a male or female perspective, it doesn't matter what it is. You have to be selective, and you have to have high standards. And high standards doesn't mean you need to make this amount of money. You need to be balling like this. High standards say, no matter what, you need to treat me with respect. You need to act like you love me, right? And acting like you love me comes with the small things of just being considerate of me, right? We need to look at it in terms of compatibility and not in terms of how attractive somebody is and what they can bring to our lives financially. Because somebody may be doing good, doesn't mean they're going to do you good.
Okay, let me play devil's advocate right quick before my next question. Okay, so I know that there's a large debate online about women having a high expectation possibly of men's financial situations. So with that being said, I know the counter argument with women is, well, why shouldn't I want that for myself? I should strive to want a man that has this. A man should provide. So what is your take on that?
I have to say, if I have to look at it from the perspective of what would I tell my daughter about a man, right? I would say first and foremost, look at his character. Before you look at anything else in his life, his finances, whether he can provide for you, look at his character. The character of a good man wants to provide. A good man is going to want to provide for you. He's going to want you to be happy. He's going to want you to enjoy life with him, right? So, not to say that there aren't any good men who are broke, because there are good men who are broke, but there is never a good man in this world who's broke and who ain't trying, right? He can't be a good man who's broke and ain't trying. That don't work.
Right.
That don't work. So no matter what you say when you assess a man, he has to be making an effort, trying to make a plan, because the truth of the matter is a lot of great love situations come when you meet someone who's trying to start something up and you help to add to that. Most people want to find a man that's on top of the mountain and date him. A lot of times the man that's on top of that mountain, how hard he worked to get there, he's not necessarily going to be willing to spoil a woman at that point. He's really going to spoil himself with women. That man is going to tend to do that. That's why men who have wealth and success tend to have a whole bunch of women.
Okay, why is that?
Because that man most likely grew up with nothing. And the women that he were attracted to when he was in school, who he was in love with, never gave him the time of day. They never said anything to him. He tried to holler at him. They disrespected him or they mistreated him. And then he put all his energy into becoming successful. And when he became successful, he wanted to turn that same energy back on women, right? Which is an unconscious thing too. That's a negative coping skill that man has come up with because he felt disrespected by women. And again, I will say the same thing that I say for women, for men. That is a man who is unaware, who've only tried to holler at a fraction of the girls around him. And because he got the nose and feels emotional about it, now he's mad and he says, oh, well, I don't care about women no more. I'm just going to use them like they tried to use me or use my wallet. Because a lot of those guys will go out on dates with girls, spend their money on women, and women will take their money and leave them and not talk to them. And a lot of women think that's okay to do. Completely get it. Because honestly, it doesn't matter. You're supposed to be assessing who you decide to spend your money on, not spending your money with the expectation that someone's going to reciprocate your energy.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't go into a situation thinking because I spend this money, she's going to reciprocate my energy. No. Go into that situation, look at her, spend a little bit, watch her, and see if she's going to reciprocate that energy or is she just going to eat off of you. And if she's going to eat off of you, sweetheart, you can eat off of me one time, but you won't eat off of me 2, 3, 4 times. That won't happen, right? Because the first time we go out, I'm making an assessment of you. I'm trying to assess, do we have compatibility? Does she have good character? Is she understanding? Is she respectful? Does she even want a man? Or does she want a meal? Right? And a man has to assess that. I'm not going to be mad at any woman who comes along and uses me when I make myself accessible to be used. Right? I have to have enough self-awareness to know that anybody who can be used is going to be used. That's not about the other people who use you. That's about you and not having any boundaries as a person. Be like, okay, sweetheart, you might get 1 meal out of me, but 2, 3, 4 meals is not going to happen. That's not going to happen. I feed you once. Just to see if you were feeding. Right? And then after that, I'm gonna be on my way because I'm not going to waste my time. Men and women need to assess the character of the person that they're dating. Sweetheart, he's not your wallet, and sir, she's not your box in terms of your place to put yourself in terms of sexually and using her as a sexual tool. We need to stop being tools for each other and start respecting each other. If somebody's not worth your time and they just don't have what you want, then go about your way and find somebody who do. Don't disrespect them because they don't have what you want or use them because they don't have what you want.
So my next question kind of goes back into assessing men's feelings. What questions would you like to be asked more as a man?
Honestly, I would like to be asked questions, period. Because I don't feel like the women that I've spoken to in most of my life, I don't feel like they ask enough questions.
Really?
And I'm like, wow. I see why you get into situations and relationships that are horrible for you. Because you don't ask enough questions. You just have expectations. And that's not a female thing, and primarily, that's a people thing. Men don't ask enough questions to women to know. We honestly, want to just slide into something good and hope it goes good and not really
Right.
pay attention to the particulars. It's the little stuff that matters the most when you're trying to get to know somebody. And
Right.
so the question I always want to be asked by any woman is, do you know yourself? Right? And
Right.
when you ask that question, I'll tell you, if somebody says, oh yeah, I know myself, and they so quick to answer it, either they really do know themselves or they really are lacking self-awareness severely. So when
Right.
you get that answer, that straightaway answer, you make sure you understand that now you need to watch to see what they do to follow that answer. Because then it's going to show you, okay, he is very self-aware. He does know what
Right.
he does, right?
Mhm.
Some people will use the bathroom and use all the tissue and not refill it. That person is not self-aware, right? And it's little things that prove the awareness, that
How
shows
does-
the little care.
Okay. How does that prove awareness? Because I don't understand that.
The awareness is that there's more than one person in this house besides you.
Right. Right. Consideration.
So if you can't be the basic consideration to
Right.
be the last person to use it,
Right.
to fulfill it or to refill it, then what are you really thinking about when you only think about yourself,
Right.
right? And for a
Right.
man who is being a man means there's likelihood that one day you're going to be a father. Being a father means having a family. Having a family means being considerate of other people.
Right.
Because if you're not considerate of them, how can you teach them to be considerate of each other or to be considerate of you? Right? And so for you not to do something that is as small as that shows respect for the next person, it means that you are likely unaware that there even is a next person. Right?
Yeah.
And if that person is right next to you, how can you be that unaware?
Right. Yeah. For real.
To be a man and be in a relationship, I'm laying in the bed with you, I'm trying to have sex with you, but I'm not refilling tissue. It's like, how do you not have the awareness to understand that she's gonna need that?
Right.
And a one aspect of love that is important to know is the fact that if you love me and you make me ask you for what I need, do you really love me? Like
Ooh,
your child shouldn't have to ask you to be at a parent-teacher conference. Your child shouldn't have to ask you to be at a sports event. You should have the idea in your mind that my child wants me to be present. And everybody else in your life who loves you wants you to be present for them.
Right.
So why are you lackadaisical in that response when you know there's a desire there? And if you love me, why aren't you trying to fulfill that desire? When I show love to people, it isn't it isn't stating there's a possibility that I'm going to be present for you. I'm telling you, I'm going to be here. And if you need me, if you need my support, then always reach out and ask me, and I'll always be available for you. But you're not going to have to always ask. Right? Maybe sometimes I'm working hard, I'm doing things, and it don't cross my mind as much.
Right.
That shouldn't be an everyday thing.
To double back on that question, to kind of give women some insight on how they can be more there for the men in their life, what is a question that men feel like they would like to be asked in terms of like how they feel?
Because a lot of men kind of lean out of feelings, they lean more into logic, right? We tend to overlean into logic to the point where we almost kind of leave our feelings behind because we don't feel like our feelings are always respected by anybody, right? And the truth of the matter is, the world tells men, we don't care about your feelings, right? And then on top of that, you have women that you date who in some ways will do the same thing because they have this idea that they're looking for this rugged man who basically doesn't have any feelings. Sorry, but every person you meet has feelings, has emotions, and is emotional on the inside, whether they show it to you or not.
Right.
But the thing about it is asking a man about those more logical questions that really lead to those more emotional answers. Right? And the logical questions is, what is respect to you? What makes you feel respected? What makes you feel loved? Because a woman wants love right off the bat. A man wants respect right off the bat.
Right.
He's definitely not going to feel loved by you if you don't respect him. right?
Right.
So the more important question to ask is, what is respect to you? How does respect look? How do I show you the respect that you feel like you deserve? And how do
Right.
you respect yourself?
Can I just say something? And let it be noted that he's referring to healthy men. So if you have a toxic man in your life that's requesting that you respect him, that is not who he's talking about.
No.
Please
I'm
don't.
not talking about the undeserving.
Right. Please don't try to make this fit where it does not. We're talking about a healthy man who is good to you, who is there for you. Don't try to make it apply to somewhere that it does not fit. So if you were thinking for a second, oh, maybe that's why he treats me like this, we're not talking about that guy. Just so you know. Okay, go on.
Definitely not talking about that guy.
Not at all.
There has to be something there first and foremost for you to even get started on all of this, because this is the stuff that really, this might be the framework that you're trying to build for your foundation, but at the same time, this is very basic things. And if a person can't meet this level, then you need to be able to sit down and be alone for a while.
Yeah.
Right? It is scary for everybody to be alone, but I'll tell you this, men feel alone more often, right? And because of that, they tend to, that's why you have all these red pill guys who are jumping on this lane, because they feel disrespected by women. They feel mistreated by women. And the majority of them work jobs that don't nobody want to work, doing things that don't nobody want to do, and no one shows them that love. Now, at the end of the day, a man should seek to be better. It's a big part of manhood is to seek your own success, to build yourself, to reassess yourself every so often and become more objective and more honest about who you are and what you expect from people.
So to the women that hear that about men feeling disrespected, to the women that hear that and have a knee-jerk reaction to feel defensive, like, but I've been so disrespected by men, like men have always been my oppressor. How can you kind of help them to understand the crossover of what you mean when you say that?
I will say first, remember, you haven't been disrespected by the whole of men. You have been disrespected by your selection of men.
Right.
And that has to be understood.
Yeah.
It's not about man. It's not about men.
Yeah.
That right there is about your selection of men. And yes, you deserve more respect than that. You should have been respected. But also remember, you make yourself a tool for somebody. Like any nail that's standing, if you make yourself a hammer, someone's going to use you to hit a nail. And so you open yourself up to being used and abused by somebody who's not going to respect your standards anyway, and you don't have standards at all, you're going to get abused. Right? Yeah. And I don't want you to have the reaction where you should feel like there's something in you that needs to attack a man who wants more respect just because you've been disrespected. Every one of us has been disrespected by people that we've dated. Men have been disrespected by women, women have been disrespected by men, and vice versa. And it goes across the board. And we tend to only harp on the part that affects us. You are not self-aware if you are only aware of what affects you. Yeah. Right? And men and women tend to be on their own ships, yelling and screaming about their own stuff. Right. That's not self-awareness. Right? That's a severe lack of self-awareness where you just want to harp. There's a huge group of men on the red pill thing who only want to harp on women who are shallow and not understanding and attack them and attack what they want. Right. There's a group of women who look at these men and attack, and we blanket statement each other so much. It's the worst thing that we do. Men are like this and women are like this. No, y'all selection is like that. Your selection is the biggest problem. You've been abused by your selection of men, your selection of women, not men and women. There are plenty of good people out here. Yeah. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people wounded talking about, hey, I'm hurt. Yeah. How come it's so many of them? Either we all shitty people or we're all good people being wounded by the small amount of bad people out there. Right. Yeah, definitely. Let's switch it up just a taste. In what ways can men better help other men? The brotherhood. Being a real friend and not being a fun friend. Most people, male and female, have fun friends. They don't have real, genuine friends or friendships.
Hold
They
on,
have
let me
people-
have a hallelujah.
Hey, it's real. It's
Yeah.
real. One of the worst problems in the world is fun friends.
Yeah.
You think because you drink with them and you smoke with them and you have a good time with them that they're your friend.
Right.
That doesn't mean they're your friend. That means that there's somebody you have fun with.
Right.
Right? You have fun. You can have fun with an associate who doesn't even like you. And most people are surrounded by people who don't really like them or respect them.
Mm-hmm.
But feel so lonely that they need to select people to have fun with and be around just because.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So first and foremost, you need a real friend, a real brotherhood. And I don't mean the friend who just wants to express how smart they are by telling you what you're doing wrong. Right? Because there are those people. But if you look at someone and you respect what they do, you respect how they go about their life and how they handle their business, that tends to be the person who can be a good friend to you, who's going to be honest with you.
Right.
And men need honest, respectable friends who are going to tell them the truth. My homies, we close friends, we real, and I feel like you're going to listen to me because I'm not going to waste my breath on every friend that I have who I know is not going to listen to what I have to say or have this super, super wide point of view that they need to carry, or they're not going to listen to what anybody says anyway.
Right.
But I would never tell my homie, oh, you cheating on your girl? Oh, that's okay. That's whatever. No. I don't respect the lack of loyalty because disloyalty is easy to have. It's easy to be disloyal.
Yeah,
it's harder to have integrity and it's harder to be loyal. And if you disloyal to your girl, then you're most likely to be disloyal to me or even more so disloyal to me in terms of the women that I'm around. Because if that woman gives you a shot and it's behind my back, you're more likely to be more loyal to your gonads than loyal to your homie.
Your loins.
Right. And so it's one of those things that you really have to assess who is really your friend.
Yeah.
Right? And first and foremost, realize that before you make friends with anybody else or you chill with anybody else, your best friend is going to be yourself.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a friendship with you and a friendship with your God, the God of your understanding, then you're probably somebody who's fairly lost and doesn't have a frame of reference for having a good friend outside of you.
So as far as the men who kind of view the guys of respect of being like, oh, I respect him because he has women, he has money, he has the superficial things. I just want to clarify the difference between what you're talking about in that.
Right. Well, for those men, you have to realize anything that you overinvest in that you're going to have to leave here when you die, it doesn't matter that much.
Right.
Right. And so if a man is overinvested in women, a man who's usually overinvested in women is not going to have nothing. All the men that I knew who I watched growing up, who spent all their time with women, they have nothing to offer their family now. And for the men who are uber successful and do have something to offer their family, and they still do that, understand they do that because of a hole that they feel like they have in their heart. You can only have sex really with one woman at a time. Even if there's multiple women there, you can only have so much fun with one woman, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so at the end of the day, the need for a whole bunch of women really is more so a hole in your heart. And more so the money that you need is more to fill a hole in your heart. Remember, the only thing that's truly worth cultivating is those things that are within yourself, because there are the things that are going to leave with you when you leave this world. Everything else you're going to have to leave behind. I know a lot of men who got a lot of women throughout their life. None of those women help them now, and none of those women keep them warm. And when they on their deathbed and they hoping that their kids come and visit, they're going to be sad, because the people who valued them, they didn't value them. They valued the cookie that didn't stay with them.
Yeah. So my next question is, what can help women have better relationships with men?
Self-awareness.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're gonna harp on this over and over again, because it's the beginning of all things. Is how aware are you of yourself? your triggers, your pains, what you've been through. Because yes, maybe somebody has put you through a lot, right? Maybe your family has put you through a lot.
Right.
But you deserve better than that. And if you truly believe you deserve better than that, then set the standard for that better to come, right? Because the only thing that's better that's going to commit to you is what's your standards allowed to come to you, right? You need some of those things that look good to fall by the wayside. Because go ahead.
Sorry. So just to not get far from what you said, so what about people who hear that and they don't really have the understanding that they really do deserve better than that? That's all they've gotten. That's all they know. They don't have the clear understanding of, I maybe deserve better than this. I should have better than this.
And the hard part is self-awareness is a hard road. It's a very difficult road. But if you are already setting your sights on it, then you need to read more. You need to journal more. Get to know yourself from the inside out. Right. Say what you feel on paper, externalize what you're feeling, and really look at what you're saying. Do I really want this for myself?
Right.
Am I really okay with being loved like this? And one exercise I do is I compare everything to death. Is it gonna matter when I die? Is it gonna matter when I'm sick? Is it gonna matter when they don't care about me no more? Is it gonna matter? And if it doesn't matter then it don't matter.
Right.
You gotta know life is short. We are all here today, gone tomorrow, right? And people who know you are gonna forget you. So you have to really look at what's for you and what's worth having, right? And like I said, self-awareness is everything. So really study yourself like you would study something that you're going to make money doing. Like people go to school to get a job and make money. You need to go to the school of yourself and really study who you are. And not only that, if you really feel like you can't study who you are because you have no real frame of reference, then start to look at who you want to be. Right. And ask yourself, what would she do? The one I'm inspiring to be like, the woman that's in front of me, what would she do? Would she tolerate this disrespect? I don't think so. So I should. Would she be with a man like this? I don't think so. Then I shouldn't be. And really assess yourself from that point of reference. Because it's either you look ahead of you and see who you want to be, or you look behind you and see who you've been and start to do the work there. But you have to start to work somewhere. And that right there is going to give you more access to better men and relating to better men.
Right. Gotcha. Okay. So my last question, I feel like we kind of already touched on a little bit, but I just want to get a little bit more insight on it. So it's about toxic masculinity. So with women who have been hurt by men, how do you discern a man worth hearing and a toxic man?
I'll put it to you like this. There is a such thing as a toxic man, but there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. Toxic masculinity is not real, right? Because we are a mirror of masculine and feminine is a mirrors of each other. If there's a toxic masculinity, that means there's a toxic femininity.
And is.
And no, these are just toxic people. It has nothing to do with their gender. Your gender doesn't have a toxicity. Your character and your attitude does. Right? And so we kind of need to get away from the idea of toxic masculinity because it's not true. You cannot make masculinity toxic. You cannot make femininity toxic. Right? More of us should really look into what is divine masculinity and what is divine femininity. Right? But the toxic traits that are exhibited in men, the negative attitudes that men have, it comes from their own self-awareness, but then their ego telling them what they think they deserve in life. When really they haven't worked to deserve any of the things that they may want from women. Just because you have things, you have a good job and you have good money, doesn't mean that women should treat you in this royal way where she's supposed to clean you and take care of you. You get that from being the man who reciprocates in a great way to that woman so she feels supported. Right? The reason why you have fathers give their daughters away at weddings is because the father was supposed to be the man who always is there to protect his daughter and support his daughter. And when he gives
Right.
his daughter to another man, it says, it doesn't mean I'm leaving, that I'm not going to be here to support her. It means that you're always going to be present. So in order for me to feel that my daughter should be with you and outside of my family, building her own family, I need to know that you're going to do what I have been willing to do to support my daughter. Right? And be a good man to her. Right? So more than anything, your selection, you have to be patient and understanding and assess your selections.
Assess the selections. Got it. I really hope that you guys got some insight into the male mind. And you can take something away with this on how to navigate your male relationships. If you have a boyfriend who you're not too sure about, if you have someone in your life that you kind of want to respect more because you've been dealing with some hardships based on your past experiences, I really hope that this sheds some light onto the male mind. Ahmal, do you have anything that you want to add?
Hey, self-awareness. Work on yourself. Some of us don't need to be worried about a relationship at all. Right? Some of us really need to look at ourselves, and I'm not talking about females and I'm not talking about males, I'm talking about everyone. We got to look at ourselves and be honest about what it is that we do for others, what it is that we deserve from others, and how we carry ourselves in a way that shows that we're deserving of the respect that we desire from other people. Right? You need to be more aware of what love really is to you and what it looks like to you. And like I said, ask questions. If you are a woman and you ask a man a whole bunch of questions and he gets annoyed with you asking questions, that's already a red flag. Leave him alone. Because you need to be able to ask him, where are we headed? What are we doing? Right? Because a majority of the fights that happen in relationships happen because you're with a man who has no sense of navigation. He does not know where he's going, and so you don't know where your relationship with him is going. Right? And on top of that, if you hear a maybe from somebody, take it as a royal no. Okay? Because a maybe means that you're going to waste your time and you're going to allow somebody to feed off of your love and your admiration for them.
Say that one more time for the people in the back, because they didn't hear it all the way. Say it one more time.
Hey, if it's a maybe, then it's a royal no. It means no, no, no. If somebody can't tell you that they're going to be there for you, especially when it comes from men to women, right?
Yes.
Women are busy assessing a lot of other things when it comes to dealing with men before they actually want to be with you. So when you take your time and you're saying, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that, it's more so understandable. But from a man to a woman, understand, if a man isn't sure about you, leave him alone. Yeah. Because most times we know, okay, she got it. Let's do it. Right? If he's really, really taking his time, if it takes him years and years and years to want to marry you, and I am not talking about legal marriage. Legal marriage for most men is a trap. And that's the reason why a lot of men don't want to marry legally. They don't care about the legal version of marriage. Because legal version of, there is nothing that shows that a man is truly going to be respected in terms of marriage, in terms of legality. Because a woman can just get tired of you, divorce you, take half your money and take your kids in most states. So most men don't want to get married at this point because there's no real benefit for a man to get married. His benefit at this point is that you wanted to be married and he wants to marry you. That's the biggest benefit that a man has in marriage. But all the other benefits go straight to the woman 9 times out of 10. And so if you do get tired of me, if I don't do enough for you, or if I don't do this, then you can choose to just divorce me, which is not right when you can take my children and take half of my money, especially money you didn't work for. So it's not right. And so a lot of men don't want to go through marriage in terms of the legal version of what marriage is. And that's understandable. I myself, I'm a marriage and family therapist, so I have a high level of respect for the integrity of relationships and marriage. To me, it's important because a better couple is a better family, and a better family is a better community, and a better community is a better city, and vice versa. It goes into a better world, right? And so in order for us to have a better world, we have to have better relationships with ourselves, the people around us, and God. We need to have those relationships and really understand what those things are going to mean for us in the future.
Understood. Gotcha. Perfection. Ahmal, give us a smile right quick so we see them pearly whites.
Oh, she would be so like. That's what you get. That's what you get right there.
Okay, I thank you so much for being on the channel. I hope to have you back again to kind of shed some light onto some different topics. This man is very knowledgeable. He's very knowledgeable, guys. Once again, this is my bestie. I thank you so much for being on the channel. So guys, comment, like, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will be back next week. Oh, I wanted to tell you guys also, I'm gonna start some different segments on the channel, talking to women of different cultures, kind of interviewing more people, getting some different perspectives. I definitely want to interview Ahmal again because he has so much knowledge about relationships and just people in general. So I look forward to the future. All right. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.